Hello, everyone. Warm good evening to all our esteemed guests and dignitaries on the dais. Today it's a wonderful Sunday, first week of July and first Sunday of July, and we are here to talk about a very interesting topic on integrating pharmacotherapy in tobacco cessation. Now we move towards a scientific session. I'm happy to introduce to our audience the moderator for the evening, Dr. Nandita Divekar. She is a consultant in anesthesia and critical care at Medway NHS Trust in UK. She's a lead for smoking cessation in her hospital and very passionate about the cause. She was pivotal in starting the STOP, the Stop Before the Op clinic. She and her two colleagues were awarded the CEO Award for Brilliance to study the Ottawa model, and recently she had been invited to talk about her experiences at the National Smoking Cessation and Health Conference in UK about the smoking cessation modalities. I invite ma'am to kindly take the session ahead.
Thank you, Shruti. Namaste to everyone and welcome and greetings from the UK. How true, isn't it? The world has the same problem, and WHO has described tobacco as the only legal drug that kills many of its users when used exactly as intended by the manufacturers. And if you think, oh, India is different and UK is different, no, we have the same problems, and COVID has actually made it worse sometimes because many people committed to quit, but at the same time, there have been many additional smokers. Thank you very much, Dr. Pawan Gupta, Dr. Reena Kumar, Dr. Desai, and all the dignitaries, and of course, Shruti, for inviting me to this prestigious conference and giving me the opportunity to be a moderator for this session and then come to a conclusion at the end. So I really hope that this conclave is really very successful and we can take it internationally as well. I now hand over to Dr. Pankaj to chair the next session. Dr. Pankaj, the podium is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you, ICANN, and for giving this opportunity, and team of Shruti ji, Dr. Desai sir, Ibas, and all others involved in this. Such a lovely thing you discussed and decided. It's much more required, especially in this pandemic going around. We all know smoking cessation is such a big disorder worldwide. Around 1.3 billion people are involved in this. And as the saying goes, the quitters never win. But in the case of tobacco, quitters are the real winners. That's a good thing. When the news came out that smokers were more likely to develop severe diseases COVID-19 compared to non-smokers, it triggered millions of smokers to want to quit tobacco. But without adequate support, quitting can be incredibly challenging. The nicotine found in tobacco is highly addictive and creates dependence. We all know about this. The behavioral and emotional ties to tobacco use, like having a cigarette with your coffee, craving tobacco, like just our doctor did so nice job for telling all this thing, makes it hard to kick the habit. Many strategies can be used for smoking, as discussed in the group. Some can be like medication also are used for this, like bupropion, NRT, and Vaseline, which will be discussed in this session. Most smokers who try to quit do so without assistance. However, only 3 to 6% of quit attempts without assistance are successful in long term. That's a very small number. So currently, over 70% of the 1.3 billion tobacco users, and the figure is growing day by day, lack access to the tools they need to quit successfully. This gap in access to cessation services is only further exacerbated last year as the health workforce has been mobilized to handle the pandemic. With the professional support and cessation of services, tobacco users double their chance of quitting successfully. So this program in these times is very important and very vital. So I am very happy you are doing this job. So without further delay, I would like to do my job, and I would like to introduce the speaker for today's session, Dr. Deepak Kumar. And we all know Dr. Deepak Kumar. He is a professor and head of psychiatry, and he is a deputy medical superintendent at IBHAS. He is awarded the Shri Ram Kreval Fellowship by the National Academy of Medical Sciences, India, in year 2005-2006 for training in child psychiatry at NIMHANS, Bangalore. He is also a member of the expert committee of mental health care for children in Delhi. He has several publications reviewed also. Dr. Deepak Kumar did his PG from PGMR Chandigarh and DNB, he has also done his DNB. He has more than 2 decades of clinical experience in the field of mental health, and he expertise in subspecialty of child psychiatry, community psychiatry, and his special areas of interest include urban mental health services, tobacco and mental health, and cinema and psychiatry. And Dr. Deepak Kumar has numerous publications to his name, presentations to his name, national and international. He has also research papers to his name. So Dr. Deepak Kumar is immensely experienced psychiatrist, world known very well in the world, in the nation also. So I would like to call upon Dr. Deepak Kumar, sir, for the session. Sir, please take over.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaj. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the organizers, the ICANN Care, the team of Shruti ji, and our senior colleagues, Dr. Desai sir, Dr. Mishra sir, Dr. Nandita and others. I am grateful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. As Dr. Prabhat has set the tone for the program, and so I'll just share the slides. Like Dr. Desai has initially said that yes, you need medicines, the pharmacotherapy for treatment in the tobacco cessation, because that forms the PISA base, and all the therapies or all the so-called toppings can take actually the taste of it will come only when the combination works. Okay, so now today we'll talk about see, there is a contention between bupropion and varenicline and the NRT. These are the 3 main players in the arena. But for a physician who is trying to help the individual with tobacco dependence, it doesn't matter, because what matters is his armamentarium is full of medications alongside the non-pharmacological measures. So this combination is likely to help the individual, and he is trying to bring a change in the life of the person. So this is the institute where I work. It's a mental health and neurosciences center in Delhi, and Dr. Desai heads this institute. So we have been running the tobacco cessation clinic for the last 2 decades here, and some of the experiences I will be sharing with you. So because tobacco dependence is a chronic disease, so it warrants medical treatment like any other chronic disease like diabetes. And why is the treatment for tobacco dependence is a priority for all of us? First and foremost is the leading preventable cause of illness being tobacco smoking and causing death, premature death worldwide. And this is the key reason why we should. And the second most important reason is that the interventions which we can use for cessation in smoking, they are all cost effective and clinically relevant. And these are relevant not only in patients with or without mental illness. And we physicians and clinicians can actually make a difference, and which takes, as even Dr. Prabhat was mentioning, that with minimal intervention of few minutes, we can make a dent in this menace of tobacco. So the intervention does make a difference, and there is enough literature to support this. And some cases might require just brief counseling, while pharmacotherapy might be required. In our hospital, because we have clients from mental health background, so most of the referrals are from the general adult psychiatry OPDs, and because of which our clients have more challenging compared to a patient with only tobacco dependence. So the smoking cessation as an intervention is a powerful intervention, which we all know, and it is comparable to any other medical interventions available in the field of medicine. Now, quitting is also possible, we all know, and the benefits are immense. And as Dr. Prabhat had also told, that the health benefits actually start within 20 minutes. So and they are incremental over a period of time. So this has to be emphasized to our clients that they need to continue, and this would be a reward or an incentive for the individual to be in the follow-up. Now, some of the lessons which we have learned over a period of time, some of which are based on our experiences also, and the research evidence, that most of our clients actually have comorbid conditions, and the psychologist will find out that there are significant behavioral and psychological issues in the clients. And what is required in treatment is a multidisciplinary team to work. And between the TCC, the Tobacco Cessation Clinic Network, and the various departments of medicine, be it cardiology, pulmonology, or dental and oncology, there has to be a good liaison. Now, the assessments have become much easier these days because of the assessment tools, which are very user-friendly, which can be carried out in the running clinics in the clinical practice by most of the clinicians. The other lesson learned is that the effective medication and the treatments available, both pharmacotherapy and counseling-related psychosocial measures. And the other issue is that if you combine these two, the effect is much more than if you use either of them. And finally, the treatments clinically are all cost-effective. The other lesson we have learned is the telephone quit line counseling is very effective, especially in the pandemic background. I believe this would make sense. There is a need for self-help groups like we have for Alcoholic Anonymous. Like on those lines, we could consider self-help groups. Dropouts are pretty high in the clinics, and so long-term monitoring is required, and the involvement of family and friends is very much required in the overall process. So if we see the area of treatment, broadly, you have both psychological measures as well as the pharmacotherapy. And I've put NRT separately because it seems to have an edge and got an independent as a modality separate. So that's why I have kept it. And then finally, you can have a combination of all these. So the strategy which we utilize in our clinics is basically identifying and assessing the tobacco users using those assessment forms and giving simple advice to quit tobacco use. And then we have a stepwise approach here, starting from self-help tips to the brief interventions and then intensive treatment. Some of our clients end up directly to step 3, that is intensive treatment. And I guess the steps aren't clear in this diagram, but in this, you can see the steps from in the figure. We heard Dr. Prabhat about the abridged version of the 5 A's into 3 A's. So this is definitely an important tool in our treatment. Coming to the pharmacotherapy and focusing on options available, if you see the NICE guidelines, which is used in the UK, there are 3 basic first-line stop smoking medications which are available and recommended. Those are NRT, varenicline, and bupropion. All these have at least double the chances of successfully stopping the smoking. Then the quit rates can be actually further increased if we add the behavior counseling. So varenicline is being considered in a separate session, so we'll not get into details there. So other drugs beyond varenicline is our focus, primarily bupropion, but before that, there's some other drugs are available. We can just have an overview. So nortriptyline is another drug, which is an antidepressant. This is commonly used in elderly. Clonidine, we all know, is an antihypertensive, and that it is also used. Selagelene is basically used in Parkinson's. It's also a MAO inhibitor. It is also being tried in the clinics. And then there are nicotine antagonists also available. So the doses of clonidine and nortriptyline are being shown here, helping to reduce the withdrawal as well as nortriptyline being antidepressant can be given in comorbid depression. So coming to bupropion, now this is the first non-nicotine based drug which has been approved for this suggestion in the UK and US. So it came much earlier than actually varenicline, and it has proven its efficacy for smoking cessation, and 1 in 5 smokers actually it helps to stop smoking. And this is to be prescribed only in over 18 years of age. So far, adolescents are being deprived of this drug. Now, broadly, if we talk about the mechanism, it's basically both dopaminergic as well as adrenergic, as well as additional antagonistic action at the nicotine acetylcholine receptors as well. So, but there is no effect on serotonin system. Broadly, it's a anti-craving drug, and also effects are on the withdrawal symptoms. This is the same mechanism. Now, there have been numerous trials to confirm the clinical effectiveness, and there are Cochrane reviews also of the meta-analysis, which clearly says that bupropion has an edge over placebo definitely, and also comparable to varenicline. In fact, there have been clinical trials at different periods of time also. For example, the quit rate at 4 weeks being up to 36%, comes down to about 25% by 12 weeks and 19% by 26 weeks. And there are also studies in severely mental ill persons who are smokers, and there as well it helps compared to the placebo. The drug trials have been very promising. Now, treatment should usually begin 1 to 2 weeks before quitting. That means the individual has to set a target quit date in the first 2 weeks of starting the treatment. Usually the second week would be ideal because the drug takes about 1 week for the steady state levels to achieve, and that is when they can put the quit date. So after setting that target stopping date, the individual can start with 150 milligrams. For the first week, it is oral 150 milligrams per day, and then gradually increase to twice a day. And this can continue from week 1 to 7 weeks. And then subsequent maintenance can be back on 150 milligrams. Most studies have been done for periods of 12 weeks. Generally, it's well tolerated. Most common side effect is insomnia, dry mouth, dizziness. And definite cautions are for lactating as well as pregnancy. And with this drug, this is an antidepressant, so we use commonly in patients with depression as well as tobacco smoking as a comorbid condition. So compared to the other antidepressants like SSRIs, this causes less weight gain and less sexual side effects. However, there are contraindications we should be remembering. Most important is the pre-existing seizure disorder or epilepsy. Such patients should not be provided this medication. Also, eating disorders like bulimia and anorexia nervosa, or any other risk factors which can increase the risk for seizure. Okay, so somebody with a CNS tumor or even severe head trauma and so on. Some patients with bipolar risk might you need to be cautious because it's being an antidepressant, it can switch into a manic episode, though the risk is pretty low compared to the other antidepressants. There are some drug interactions which we need to be aware of because it is metabolized by cytochrome CYP2B6. So the drugs, commonly anti-epileptic drugs like carbamazepine, phenytoin, valproate, which are acting on these systems. So there will be interactions there. Also with antipsychotics like risperidone and haloperidol, if we are co-administering with this. Most of the patients have been tried from 7 weeks to up to 12 weeks, but if you don't see any response by 7th week, unlikely that the person will be benefited. But however, our clients, the duration of treatment for depression is beyond 12 weeks actually. So some of the clients receiving at a mental health institute are beyond 12 weeks. But we should remember that most of these patients should continue to have the counseling and the support benefits alongside the medication. People have tried doing meta-analysis for other antidepressants also, including fluoxetine and sertraline and so on. But there have been no long-term benefits with these medications seen in the there are other emerging treatments beyond these drugs which are available in our armamentarium, including the nicotine vaccine as well. So if we see the success rate for these treatments, if somebody does on his own, it is less than 10%. But if he is given the brief interventions, it comes to about 10%. If he uses NRT, it climbs up. And then if it is combined with counseling, NRT and counseling, it goes higher. And with bupropion also, it is in the same range. So it's so combination works, and definitely any intervention will work for the client. In our patients, we have found the studies have clearly shown that if individuals have mental illnesses, both varenicline and bupropion seem to have beneficial effect compared to placebo. There have been some concerns about neuropsychiatric adverse events with especially varenicline, but with bupropion we haven't come across in our clinical. If you see the cost benefit analysis also compared to smokers, smoking, you can show that there is cost saving with the treatment, especially NRT. If with NRT also, if you see, it is much saving is lesser compared to bupropion. So I guess so that makes sense to continue with bupropion. At IBHAS, we have the clinic, specialty clinic, that is tobacco cessation clinic available. Further, we are expanded to extend it to the network of the community outreach clinics under National Mental Program, which is called DMHP, District Mental Health Program, so which is in the 5 districts that we are running. So this is available. In the end, I basically would like to say that we do have, so the clinicians, if they have an individual who is 18 plus, who is, especially if he also has comorbid depression, and there is no history of epilepsy, and he is well motivated, you can start with this drug, and this is well tolerated. Then, though this drug has shown to be has been shown to be safe and cost-effective cessation agent, despite that, NRT and varenicline remain dominant smoking aid cessation practice, and that seems like I'm recalling, like in Bollywood, we have a side hero who doesn't get the important, he only gets a possible award at the later end. But so I guess there is, we need to see, balance out an individual if he fits into this indicators, as I mentioned. We should definitely give this medication benefit to the client. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepak Kumar, for your very informative and lecture about bupropion and some other medications. I'll hand over to Dr. Pankaj again for the closing remarks. And before that, I just want to announce one thing, that there is a very interesting quiz which is online at the end of this or the end of the whole session. And there are prizes which will be given at the end on the 25th of July. Dr. Pawan Gupta has taken great pain with the others to help him with the quiz. Please listen to all the lectures. The answers will be there mostly in those lectures. Thank you very much, and hand over to you, Dr. Pankaj.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Deepak Kumar, for his stimulating presentation. It was packed with a lot of information in a short time. As always, it was an academic feast to listen to Dr. Deepak Kumar. And he has given such a information, such simple words, even a non-medico could make out what sir was wanted to say, and was really informative. I really thank you, sir, for your great presentation. Now back to Dr. Nandita ma'am, please take over.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pankaj, for chairing this session.